All right.
See, that was good. That was good. No, it was good.
Not the same.
I thought it was good.
Elijah, I should have sent that material on to you. Would have got a little bit better reaction.
So I can be the vessel for all dad jokes. That way we sound a little less old as a show.
Winnipeg, scary situation last night in Winnipeg, Montreal. By the way, the Canadians. I got a feeling that Shea Weber and the Habs are going to be in the conference final. I got a feeling. Bub, I don't think we're going to make it out of here. I feel like we're going back to platoon. That's what Winnipeg feels like. Everybody's got to die sometime, Jets. I think the Canadians are going to win this series. I really do.
I'm with you. I watched a good bit of that game, and then obviously the end, we were all texting about it. Mark Scheifele, come on, man. I mean, you know better than that. That was dirty, and you know it was, and he's going to get a hearing today, and he's going to get suspended.
My guess is the league is going to – they should hammer him. And I get it. He doesn't have a history of this stuff, but
man, but he didn't let up. He put the elbow up.
I mean, what did he skate? 150 feet? I mean, you can't – look, if you want to scream – and this is what, you've heard NFL players do and other players. And if you want to scream safety for players –
you got to make an example.
Then you cannot allow this hit to go on and just come out with some flimsy 1 or 2 games. I mean, give me a break. Honestly, if you really want to send a message that this is not tolerated anymore in the league, he's done for the series. Like, he's done. Like, you're done for the series. That's your suspension. You're done for this series. If your team wins, you get to play in the conference final. If your team loses, your season is over. That's what I would do.
No, I agree.
That's just me.
I agree. I mean, I think he's got to get – I said last night 3 games, but I'm thinking even more. Now, I don't know what the league will – if they'll do that, if they'll just – because of what you just said, that he doesn't have a history of this. But I think sometimes the league weighs history too much.
Yeah, I agree. Like, this one is not about history.
I think you got to look at the now.
Right. This is exactly. What did he just do? Should that be tolerated? The answer is no, never. By the way,
especially when you want to preach, like you said, player safety.
I mean, I don't know what the status is, but it looks bad. I mean, it looks really bad. And I know you can't. I don't think another thing that we get caught up in too much is, well, if he's all right, then all right, okay, no harm, no foul. Nothing to see here. Like baloney. I mean, maybe he's just a tough guy. What if he's able to sustain things that others can't? So you need to see somebody in the hospital? Do you need to see somebody out for 6 months dealing with, concussions? I mean, what do you like? We don't need to do that. Like, the bottom line is you need to look at this play and say that cannot be tolerated in today's game. Because that's what you've said. This is not my words. This is not your words.
That's what they've said.
This is not the show's opinion. This is what the league has said. The league has said this is no longer welcomed in our game. That is their words. So if this is no longer welcomed in today's game, then you have to send a very strong message. And the strong message to me, to let players know this will not be tolerated. Like you said, he didn't let up. Like, he didn't tap the brake. He went 150 feet full speed and finished it off. Okay. Yeah. And to me, like, give me a break. Like, that is the poster child for what you're trying to get out. And, oh, by the way, to the head.
Yes. I mean, the thing for me was the elbow. I mean, he was going full speed, but you can clearly see the elbow come up, or the arm come up, and he hits him in the head. And it was scary. And Shea Weber, listen, for those of you that have been a Preds fan for a long time, you are familiar with Angry Shea. You were familiar with, there was a Twitter account, all those things. He was Angry Shea last night, and he had every right to be. I thought he was going to kill someone after that.
I'm surprised.
And Mark Scheifele was the target.
I'm surprised he didn't get kicked out. I mean, I just thought he would just start just throwing bodies into the stands.
Which, I mean, I would too if I was in his position. Now, where I will say I will credit the Jets. You could tell that they were like, yeah, this is bad. And nobody was going to.
I mean, even Paul Maurice didn't skirt
around
the post-game presser.
Like, they knew, like, hey, this is a bad situation. This is a really bad situation. Scheifele messed up.
I don't know. Has there been anything reported on Jake Evans today? I haven't seen anything.
have not
Have
seen
you?
it. No,
I haven't seen anything.
I have not seen it. So, but a scary situation. And, what is that going to do to fuel Montreal?
I think they're going to win the series.
I mean, I do too.
I
And I was wondering
have
what
a
it would be like
feeling.
going into it, because, hey, you just beat Toronto. Yeah, it took 7 games, but, now 2 years in a row, this team has done something they're not supposed to do and weren't picked to do. And here they are again. But I think they got some confidence. It's not just momentum; they got confidence on their side.
Honk if you had the Canadian. And that look, I know this is premature. It's one game, but I'm just telling you, I think Montreal's going to win. I really do. I think they're going to win this series. Honk if you had the Canadians in the conference final.
No, Elijah had him beating Toronto.
I was close.
You did. You had them beating Toronto, which, by the way, I've been watching all the stuff up there. I mean, there's all kinds of everybody's got about 17 fingers on their hands because there's people. I mean, fans. It's crazy up there. Everybody's what is the problem with this team? You got all these high price talent. They're putting up. By the way, they're putting up stats. They still can't win. They had a 3 games to 1 lead, and here they are. Their season is over. Toronto just keeps going out in the first round. By the way, last year they didn't even get out of the play-in round, right?
Toronto?
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, it's.
I know we're
bad.
having we're
I was
Willie.
say Willie's been very quiet.
Well, we're
trying.
trying. We're trying to
What's
get
going
Willie.
on?
We're trying to get Willie. He's having some connection issues. We can see him, so we can all wave at him.
Is he? Is there a ghost? Is there a ghost at the house?
There could be. There
That's
could be.
Unplugged his Wi-Fi.
Maybe.
He's motioning no. He doesn't believe the house is haunted.
Okay.
East Nashville. There's got to be some haunted houses in East Nashville. I've got to be honest. I just have a feeling those houses have been around a long time, and my guess is there's some haunted houses in East Nashville.
I could see it. I could totally see there being some. So what we need to do, we'll just, I'll just PD for a second. Elijah, we need to reset the Comrex unit. So if you could go.
Let's do this on here. Let's peel back the curtain.
This is what I'm doing.
Let's let the listeners in on this is how we handle this.
This has been my week. So, this is what we're doing. We've had, little things I've had to deal with. I've discovered something too. I want to run this by both of you. But yeah, if you'll go in to the tech center and reset the first Comrex unit, Willie should be able to connect. That's what we need to do. So this is what I've learned, and you tell me, because I'll equate this to coaching with you.
Is this what you know, or is this what you've learned?
This is what I've learned.
Okay.
So I am perfectly capable of I'm the assistant program director. I am perfectly capable of being a program director. I knew that. I have, Ryan does a tremendous job, but if Ryan got hit by a bus and I had to take over, I am perfectly capable of taking over.
That would be a strange thing to happen,
It would be, and I hope he doesn't get hit by a bus.
That's bad.
But what I have learned is, like, if you fill in for someone, even though you are totally qualified and you can totally do the job, it's harder because they have things set the way that they want it done and what's good for them. And so when you're filling in, you kind of have to do that. You have to
start
go
touching their knobs.
Right. But you have to go with their procedures and their way. In my way, while both ways are fine, what's comfortable for me might be different. But because I'm playing in his pool, and he's got the chemicals set the way he wants it. I don't want to mess with that. So
that's how it works.
So it's made it. There's obviously things that, like, well, I know how to do this, but he does it this way, so I don't want to mess that up. And so that's been the obstacle that has, like, added to time and.
Well, just so you know, that's
things.
life.
No, I know it's totally life.
I'm just saying, like that, like fill in the blank. Come up with an example. You brought up coaching, like that's coaching. Like you don't think every assistant coach or everybody in the stands, if I was doing it, this is what I would, right? Because that's what that and you go, well, that's great. If you were running things, then yes, that's how it works.
Yeah.
General managers, PDs, presidents, CEOs, fill in the title. Everybody, we get it. That's how it works in life. I mean, you run things the way you have to do things the way it works for you, right? If you're in charge, that's how it works. I've had this conversation before in coaching. It's like, I can appreciate that, but I have to do things the way that I see it. I can't run it the way you see it. Like, I have to do it the way I see it. And I suspect everybody, that's how everybody realizes that's how life works. True.
Yeah. And it's like, if you have to leave, like if you're coaching, your team, Maddox's team, and you have to leave and you go to a Preds game, whoever's filling in for you, while yes, there are going to be some subtle differences and you got to make decisions on the fly, just like I've had to do this week, that person is going to try and do it as close to you as possible, because that's what you have set, as a standard for the team. And so I totally recognize that. And it's not that I'm saying like his way is wrong. It's just there are more than one ways to get to the same point, and that's what it is. So it's like try to do that, and but it's also giving me ideas to be like, hey, what if we tried it this way? And stuff like that. But
so you're saying Ryan unplugged the comments?
See, Elijah played with some knobs and Willie's back.
I just unplugged a bunch of stuff.
That was just a long way of saying Ryan, and with Chase taking over the board, somebody reset the Comrex.
Oh, the radio station's dark now, but we've got Willie.
Yeah, we got.
I'm on, but now all the rest of the lights are on.
They go by 1824.
Yeah.
That place is dark.
The first time today that's happened.
Get the hamsters out. Get the hamster wheels going. Backup power.
There's like 6 dead hamsters back there. I mean, somebody didn't feed them. Elijah's over here touching knobs, just pushing buttons. So
I'm fully vaccinated now, so I can touch those knobs.
Are you licking the knobs?
I mean, I could.
I'm
basically invincible.
Don't listen to Chase. Do not do that. All right, let's come back.
I'm being told that Robbie Stanley may have run off the road listening to this segment.
Well, he can appreciate. Evidently, they've had some issues today as well. They had some issues as well. So maybe you can appreciate this first segment.
For 12.
Let's come back with Todd Walker. Let's talk a little college baseball with Todd Walker. We will do that on the other side as you listen to Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Yeah, all of us are here now, here on ESPN 102.5.
And the Predator season is over.
The Predator season has come to an end, so it's our time to look back and to look forward.
Just your overall thoughts as things did come to a close.
Tonight, join us from 6 to 8 as Pete Weber, Hal Gill, and Darren McFarland break down the Predator season and look ahead to what is next. It's the Predator season recap show, tonight at 6
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Get huge savings at the Electronic Express Memorial Day sale going on right now. Save big on all 4K TVs, home and car audio, computers, smart home, mattresses, and more. We have the best prices guaranteed. Up to 50% off all appliances from LG, Whirlpool, GE, Samsung, and more. In stock and ready to deliver. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing. The Memorial Day sale is going on now at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Time to save cash fast. It's the 102.5 The Game Deal of the Week from Boom Ba's Craft Pizza and Tap House. Go to theGameNashville.com right now. Get a $30 gift card for half off. Boom Ba's has award-winning craft pizza, delicious wings, 20-plus local and domestic beers on tap, and TVs galore. There's even a playground at their East Nashville and Spring Hill locations for the kiddos. 4 locations: East Nashville, Bellevue, Murfreesboro, and Spring Hill. Head online to thegamenashville.com.
I was 8 years old. I was bleeding internally everywhere, outside, inside, everywhere. I fell into a coma that lasted for 12 days. My liver shut down, my kidneys shut down. They gave me a 100% chance of dying. And then so blood assurance came in and just saved the day. I lead a normal life, and I'm very thankful. And that wouldn't have happened without blood assurance. Without those donors, I wouldn't be here. So it's very important for people to give.
The ultimate social experience is coming to Nashville. My Wine Society presents Blended Festival, August 13th and 14th at First Horizon Park, with live performances by Cascade, Lil Jon, Matt Stell, Blinko Brown, Bryce Vine, and more. Enjoy Blended's massive 100-foot wine tasting tent and indulge in culinary activations by Nashville's hottest chefs. There's also Blended's relaxing wellness lounge, VIP village, and a whole lot more. Get Blended. Tickets on sale now at blendedfestival.com. Use promo code GAME at checkout for 10% off your ticket.
Hammering headaches? Ow. Aching muscles? Put the squeeze on your tough pain with Goody's Cool Orange. The same fast-acting, powerful Goody's powder in a great-tasting Cool Orange flavor. Beat tough pain to a pulp with Goody's Cool Orange. Also, blast your pain away with Goody's Mixed Fruit Blast. 2 flavors, tough on pain, tasty on your tongue. We made Goody's fast, Goody's delicious. All available at Dollar General. ESPN's Turron Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
I want to see how much they put on Elijah Molden because that young man is a very intelligent player.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Brought to you by Freedom Tire Guys. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
I think that's an example of playing beyond scheme.
Only on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
There you go. Some good baseball music. Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe with you here on this kind of overcast Thursday here in Middle Tennessee. College playoffs. Yeah. NCAA. The road to Omaha begins. It'll begin here on tomorrow night, but 9 teams from the SEC going to take on their regionals as everybody gets geared up for that, see if they can advance to the supers and eventually on to Omaha. Let's bring in Todd Walker. He knows a thing or two about college baseball. He does it on ESPN, and we're glad to be joined by him. Todd, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing fantastic. 9 teams from the conference, and I heard people screaming, Georgia should have gotten in. There should have been 10. Were you surprised that there were 9, or do you agree there should have been 10?
You know, the one thing I was wondering, if Alabama got in, Georgia should have gone in, just by, merit alone, and vice versa. If Georgia was out, then Alabama probably should have been out. But here's what I wondered. Does the committee look at what your makeup is at the end of the season? Georgia lost their 2 best arms, and their best hitter didn't play in the SEC tournament. And I guarantee you, if you're the committee, that's what kept Georgia out, is the fact that their 3 best players were on the bench.
I want to know, and it's okay. There's no wrong answer with this, Todd. If I said, do you remember a guy at Vanderbilt named Willie Daunic? Do you remember that guy at all? And it's okay if
Willie,
you say
what's
no.
the last name?
Daunic.
Daunic. So I get this question on a daily basis. I'm always embarrassed to say I can't remember yesterday, much less, years in the past. So I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old. I don't remember much of anything.
Look, this is the host putting you on the spot with a poorly worded question, but it's just to have fun at our co-host because he was at Vanderbilt when, what was it, Willie, when Todd was a freshman?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a senior at Vanderbilt in 1993, it had just become a 12-team league the year before. So they split. So everybody didn't play everybody, but so we didn't play LSU, but Todd Walker came in and just lit up the league from the very, very start. He was All-American. He hit over 400. His team won the national championship. So even though we didn't cross paths, he was sort of the talk of the league. And of course, LSU was awesome every year. But I remember Todd very, very well.
Now look, times have changed in Nashville, haven't they? I mean, now, Vanderbilt and the powerhouse that they are now, 30 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case, right?
Yeah,
that was not the case. And Todd,
stadium didn't look like that either.
Todd, I'm trying to. You didn't. I know you didn't come your freshman year. Did you ever come through the old McGugin Field before it became? I mean, this was years before the new stadium was built. When you came through, did you ever come through to that field?
Yeah, my brain is I'm losing it, but I seem to remember a stadium that had the football stadium that was overhanging the baseball field. I think that's right.
Oh yeah,
we came through there, but again, we weren't facing Kumar Rocker and Zach Ryder back then either.
No, that is true. That is true. And I think it was 350 feet to center field. There was a hill in the outfield. I mean, it just people just they don't even know when they come through the program now where it's come.
Yeah, most
from.
games will bring your own lawn chair too. So
no question, you could sit on the grassy knoll. I mean, there weren't a lot of seats, that's for sure. All the bleachers were wooden.
What's my favorite ballparks? That's where I point to the short porches with the pitching that wasn't great, and so that was the Pittsburgh Pirates. That was some of my favorite places to play. Texas Rangers, that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's just start here in Nashville. What do you think of how it's set up here for Vanderbilt? And everything begins tomorrow night. But when you think of Georgia Tech, Indiana State, and Presbyterian here, how do you think it's set up for Tim Corbin and the boys?
Well, I think it's set up great to see they earned it. You know, I mean, although we'll talk Tennessee in a minute, that's a crazy regional up there in Knoxville. But in Nashville, you know, Georgia Tech's mediocre. Presbyterian almost has a losing record, in Indiana State, I believe, was there the last time I did a regional there. I think it was 2018, 2019.
Correct.
Indiana State was there, and I want to say that first game, I still remember. I tell the story all the time. You know, it was 2019. I'm pretty sure because you know, at the time that team averaged about 8 runs a game. Indiana State gets the first 2 guys on in the top of the first, and they bunt their 3-hole. And then they get the sac fly. They're up 1-0 after the top of the first. And I'm saying, Vanderbilt scores 8 runs a game. That's average. And at the time, I think it was more, 9 or 10 runs a game. How are you going to bunt over, get 1 run? And of course, I remember the final score, but it was bad. It was, you know, Vanderbilt killed Indiana State on that opener. But anyway, I'm like, why are we bunting in the first inning against Vanderbilt? I think as a whole, the regional sets up nicely, and the super regional. Of course, they'd go to. You know, East Carolina would come to them. They've got a big arm and a couple big bats. East Carolina does, but if you're looking ahead, you know, I feel like Vanderbilt has the nicest little road to Omaha this year. But again, they earned it.
Yeah, maybe the strategy was not to get shut out, so that worked in the first inning. You brought up Knoxville. A lot of people have looked at that region and went, "Wow, the number 3 overall seed," and they get Duke, Liberty, and Wright State. And then we even had Tim Corbin on the other day, and he was even going, you know, wow. It doesn't look like they got rewarded for being the 3rd overall seed.
Somebody on the committee hates the Vols. I mean, my goodness. I mean, how can you go, let's go ahead and take Wright State, RPI 25, averaging 10 runs a game. Duke, who just won the ACC tournament, shut out North Carolina, or NC State in the final, 1-0. They've won 12 in a row, has Duke. And then Liberty ran away with the Atlantic Sun Conference, 19-2 in conference. How do you put those 3 and the number 3 overall seed in the country in that regional? I'm sure, you know, I heard Tony Vitello, you know, in his press conference, they'll never address that, and they'll never say, you know, we're gonna get after it. And I think they still come out in that regional. But wow, you know, when you talk about Vanderbilt and a few others that earned the chance to, you know, play the weaker teams in the field of 64, Tennessee earned it too, but they didn't get it.
Todd Walker is with us. You see his coverage all the time throughout the season on the SEC network. He'll be doing regional coverage. Which regional do you have this year, Todd?
I've got South Bend, so we've just got off the phone with the Central Michigan coach and the UConn coach, and then it'll be Michigan, and then of course Notre Dame. Link Jarrett, you know, doing a great job at Notre Dame, made that program significant again, as did Tony Vitello at Tennessee. You know, it's always impressive to see these guys in a short period of time turn these programs around.
Well, Todd, I want to hit you with something. This is kind of a big picture thing throughout the bracket to watch for. And that is, you know, for guys like yourself and some of the elite players, Vanderbilt's got a few, you know, you can come in as a freshman and you're fine. You figure it out. You're just talented enough to do it. But there is something to be said for having a more experienced, older team. And that is what you see, especially this year, maybe more so than any, because some people got a free year of eligibility back because of what happened last year. So what factor do you see that type of thing being? Do you think that increases the chances that we might see some upsets across the country?
Yeah, I think so. And even more so on these smaller, you know, these non-Power 5 conference schools, because most of those guys, I'd say almost all of those guys got everybody back because they didn't get drafted. Remember last year, the Major League Draft's only 5 rounds long. And so, you know, if you're a Vanderbilt, you're going to lose, you know, Austin Martin and some of J.J. Boudet a few years ago, that kind of stuff. You're going to lose those type of players. But if you're East Carolina, you're keeping everybody because they don't necessarily, it seems to me across the board, if you're a mid-major, that you got a bunch of quality baseball players that aren't necessarily high-profile prospects. And again, like you mentioned, 5 rounds last year, the transfer portal, everything else going on, guys leaving big-time schools to go to mid-majors, because they're not getting a chance, that are good baseball players. It stacks these rosters, and so I think you're right on. I think you will see some upsets throughout the regions, and even getting to Omaha. I still think the SEC will have, out of the 8 teams, they'll have 4 or 5 teams. Now, and keep in mind, they didn't match up the SEC schools this year, so potentially you could have 7 SEC schools in Omaha because they're not matched up in the super regionals. That won't happen, of course. I think South Carolina is going to have a tough time, and teams like that. But overall, yes, I think you're right on. It's amazing for me to look at. You got 17, 18-year-old kids. Christian Little on Vanderbilt's squad. Was he 17?
Yeah.
I mean,
17.
there's some colleges that have 6-year players, 25 years old, still playing college baseball. It's unbelievable.
That is a really interesting contrast. Todd, you mentioned this. There was only 5 rounds in the draft last year. We know that the low minors have been reshaped, which would have been very sad for somebody like me, who was, I was a fringe guy. I got drafted in the later rounds. I got to play a couple of minor league seasons, and I don't know if I would have gotten that opportunity if it's like it's going this way. So you, as a guy that played long time in the big leagues, and you went from college, I don't know if you got to skip a couple levels, or you probably didn't spend much time in a couple of those levels, but I worry about opportunities and where the game is going as a whole with the way it's reshaped.
No question. And I would still tell you, and as honestly as I could. Now, I had to play. There's no doubt. But I was a first-round pick. I got $1 million. So they're going to run you through the minor league system, and so I felt like that was huge for me, and that's why you see all these guys, that want bigger contracts and more money, because money means you're not going to get thrown by the wayside. They're going to play you if they've invested in you. And I always thought, for me, that was a big advantage, is the fact that I was a first-round pick. But that doesn't really matter. But the investment, that they had put into me, I was going to get every opportunity, as opposed to other guys that might be drafted later, and you're run of the mill, and you really got to do something special. And in baseball, as you know, it's a failure sport, man. This thing is so tough. Even the Albert Pujolses of the world go 0 for 30, and go 200 at bats without hitting a home run. So it's a tough deal. And I always felt like I had an advantage just because I was drafted earlier. But this year, I think the draft is 20 rounds, so it's a little better, but still, there's not going to be as many opportunities as there were in the past, for sure.
Because of all this, do you think college baseball is maybe deeper and more talented than it's ever been?
No doubt. By what we just said, the transfer portal, the fact that the draft, if you're a 7th-round guy last year out of college, which is a talented kid, you didn't get drafted because it was a 5-round deal. So you went back to college. You got the COVID year back. So everybody played in 2020. That year didn't count. You'd come back. That's why I was saying 6-year seniors, right. 2 years. I mean, I spent 6 years in college, but it wasn't because I got the COVID year. It was just because I couldn't get through the schoolwork and the economics classes and all that good stuff. But, most people have that story, but it's amazing how backloaded these rosters are. My son's a senior in high school this year, and he's a nice little baseball player. We had a tough time finding a place, because the rosters are backloaded. If you call people, they'd say, look, we're 40 people deep for 9 positions, basically. And so that just shows you, no doubt, that the talent's there. A lot of these kids that would have left have come back. And back to what we were saying, I think the mid-majors benefited the most because they've gotten most of their guys back because they were good enough to play, but not good enough to be drafted. And I think you'll see a lot of mid-majors do well.
We're talking to Todd Walker. He's a baseball analyst for ESPN. And I know when people ask you about Vanderbilt, they go to 2 guys specifically, and Leiter and Rocker, and I'm going to be no different. But you went up against some of the best big league pitchers of all time in the era in which you played. What are some things that you see out of both of those guys that mechanic wise that maybe have developed, have changed a little bit, and maybe some things that they can continue to work on as they look at the next level?
So here's my story on Vanderbilt. Unbelievable. Tim Corbin in his 19th year. I think, first of all, you got one of the best skippers in the country. I mean, just does a phenomenal job there. From day one, I was like, this has got to be the best number 1 team in the history of college baseball. There's nobody can touch Vanderbilt. They got 2 big arms. The offense is ridiculous. They got the best leadoff hitter in the country. they're the best team in the country. They're by far, and probably in the history of college baseball, there is no more clear-cut number one. All right, so then you go through the season. They drop a series with Georgia. Then they drop a series with Florida. Then they drop a series with Ole Miss. I had them last week in the SEC tournament where Kumar Rocker struck out the side, and we thought we were looking at a no-hitter again. Back to the what was that 2019 Super Regionals when he struck out 19. I'll never forget that for Kumar Rocker. No matter what he does in his lifetime, think about that. You guys got beat by Duke 18-5. Was that the first?
Oh yeah, I was at the game. It was not pretty.
And think about that, what Kumar did. Basically won the national championship for that team because he's human. He could have a bad outing. He could come out and do something bad in game two. He strikes out 19, no hit, and shut him out 3-0 or whatever it was. And then you guys win game three, win the national championship. Okay, so last week I watched Kumar strike out the side and then hit the first guy in the second inning and threw 40-some-odd pitches and just looked normal. Then Jack Leiter pulls the same thing. So now I'm going back and I'm thinking, how do you reevaluate this team? Now I think they are still Arkansas is very good. They've kind of grown on me, but Vanderbilt's right there with them. And what I'll chalk that up to is the human element, right? Because I know as a hitter they call it an average for a reason. Because I can go 0 for 20 and still be a really good hitter. Well, Leiter and Kumar Rocker struggled in the SEC tournament. I'd chalk it up to the human element. I think when it gets back to that super regional type atmosphere in Nashville for Kumar Rocker, when he pitched against Duke, they step up. They reach another level, and I think you're going to see that out of those two main guys. And then of course Christian Little looked really good in the SEC tournament. They found their number 3. You got Schultz and Riley in the pen. Shoot, man, I don't see any reason why Vanderbilt's not going to gain a ton of confidence here at the end and make a run.
What do you like about Christian Little?
Well, he's got the live fastball. You know what you like most about that kid? I don't even want to tell you what I was doing when I was 17 years old. It wasn't baseball, I promise you that. I was just learning how to drive and learning how to walk, and basically, navigate my way through life. This kid's on the mound for again, one of the top 5 teams in the country and doing it. I think his confidence, his moxie, and being around Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter certainly helps that. But this guy's come on big. He's got a live fastball. He's got the good sweeping curveball, the swing and miss pitch. But I think to answer your question, the number one thing I love about him is at 17 years old, he looks like he could be the ace of a lot of different staffs, and he just carries himself well. I think he had the hand cramp. He had to come out, in that game. Otherwise, he would have kept going. And I was looking forward to watching him pitch. But you got a true number 3 right there now, and you're going to need, maybe 4 starters during the course of a regional, and then on in to try to get this thing done. And finding Christian Little, I think, was huge.
You mentioned Arkansas. What do you think makes them legitimate? I mean, if it's Vanderbilt, Arkansas, if they're kind of in the same, I guess the same hemisphere, what is it that you like about Arkansas that makes them so good?
Other than they won every conference weekend. And so I think that overall Arkansas is just, and look, when you play Arkansas, you're playing 6 innings, because if you're behind after 6, game over. They'll call the cops on you and you're done. Kevin Kopps is one of the best, is the best guy in the country. I faced Mariano Rivera, and so I know it's kind of a different kind of cutter slider pitch that he throws. But like Mariano Rivera, he throws one pitch basically, and you can't hit it. It's incredible to have something like that. And again, you're behind on Arkansas in 6 innings. He comes in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, shuts you down. So they shorten the game. Arkansas has grown on me. Like I said, they don't jump out at you, but that's because everybody in that offense is good. I mean, if one guy had double-digit home runs, all right, that guy steps out and jumps out at you. But they got 5. I think they're
toast. You have no chance of beating them. Pretty interesting. Todd, I've been waiting years to tell you this. Thank you so much. When you were playing, you helped me to many fantasy baseball championships. You
mention him. He's going to Louisiana Tech. He's hosting in Ruston for that first time, and that's school's history. So there's a lot of cool things going on this weekend around the country. So it's going to be fun.
My guess is your son's. I haven't looked at South Bend, but my guess is it may be colder.
Well, guess what? We're virtual, so I'm at home, so it's going.
Well, that's
to be
true.
There you go.
That's a good point.
It's kind of weird because they did the SEC tournament live, and now we're back to virtual. Hopefully, in the super regionals, we'll get to travel again because it's much better, clearly, when we're at the ballpark.
No doubt. Hey, Todd, thanks for the visit. Really appreciate it. Love the insights. Keep up the good work. We'll talk to you down the road.
All right, thank you.
All right, that is Todd Walker, former big leaguer.
That's good stuff.
All-American at LSU, as Willie put out there. He came onto the scene and just tore it up right away. And I wasn't kidding. I had him on my fantasy teams in the past, back when I was good at fantasy baseball. I'm terrible.
Are you not good now?
No. Well, I stink.
You're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened. I'm on the struggle bus. I feel like